Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Just Talk Show on WFM 90.5. I'm Wenfei, and today we'll interview Dr. Gemma Green, a great leader, a frontier of new technology, and also the new Deputy Lord Mayor of Perth. Hi, Gemma Green. It's a pleasure to meet you here. Well, the first person you called is your mom, so I assume you have really tight band with each other. So how's her reaction? She's very excited.
Actually, she was quite nervous and concerned at first, but I think that after a few weeks she can see that it's okay, and that that I have great support around me, including hers. And so I think now she's becoming more excited.
Yeah. So how's your family? How's your daughter? Does she know what happened?
No, I don't think my daughter, who's only 23 months old, Emily, I don't think she yet knows what's happening, but my husband and my mum certainly do.
Yeah, and I think it's after 1 week now, so how you feel now? Must be super busy than before.
Yeah, it's certainly become more busy. I've been getting a lot of briefings and understanding in more detail, what's going on in the city, and also understanding the responsibilities that I have to fulfill. And there's obviously a lot to learn, but it's slightly less daunting than it was a couple of weeks ago when I started.
Yeah, and I know every people think this is an unexpected result, and even you said it's a surprise.
Yes.
Yes. So, but we have a Chinese sayings: opportunities only favors those who are prepared. So I'm sure you already fully armed before this.
Well, I'm not sure that I felt armed, but I certainly have a lot of support. With my mum is living with us at the moment, and my husband is a huge support, and obviously the staff at the City of Perth have been really fabulous in helping me get up to speed.
Yeah. So how do you think this happened? Because people want change?
Well, I think that within the council there was broad recognition that we wanted to have a consensus around who would be the Deputy Lord Mayor, as opposed to drawing a name out of a hat. And so we took quite a lot of time.
It's ridiculous for doing this. I can't imagine that.
I think that nobody wanted that to happen, and so we needed to have some conversations with us as councillors to figure out what would be, what were the issues that we needed to resolve, and how could we get behind a particular person. And I was obviously very fortunate to gain the support of my fellow councillors.
Yeah, and also some media describe you as non-political candidate. So how you react to these comments? What do you think yourself is?
I think I'm very interested in the issues, and why I ran for the city, why I ran as a councillor at the City of Perth is I wanted to make Perth more lively and livable by working here rather than having to pursue them elsewhere. Yeah,
we'll talk about London later. But as a Deputy Lord Mayor, you have the fantastic background. You used to work for JP Morgan in London for almost 11 years.
Correct.
And you research fellow in Curtin University, and you founded your own company, Power Ledger, and you also a board member for many federations. And also, you are wife and mom. So how can you manage all this? It looks amazing, because myself, I look after 2 children. I'm just insane. Never mind my husband.
Yeah, I was in London for 11 years, and I spent 9 of those at JP Morgan, and I felt like that was a really great training ground for me for much of the work that I'm doing now, in terms of looking at many different companies and sectors, and also how the economy works. But in terms of, I have a small child, Emily, and I have a nanny and a lot of support around me in the organisations that I work for and with as well. So and I think also, if I look back at my life, there are certain people that were really supportive of me in pursuing new opportunities, and that it wouldn't have been possible without their support. So it's certainly not just one person doing all the things that I'm doing.
Yeah. You also won, I think, 40 under 40 in 2016.
Yes.
And can you share more information about this award? What is it about?
Sure. So the WA Business News publication has an annual award for 40 under 40, and they have a winner overall, and then they have 40 people that are under 40 years old that have contributed to society, either from a social perspective or an economic perspective. And I was recognised as one of the 40 winners for the work that I'd done up until then, which involved my work at Curtin University. And also I was a founding board member on a fossil fuel free superannuation fund.
So I guess not so many female win this, kind of award, and you're one of them.
Oh, well, to be honest, I think it was fairly a good mix of men and women. I can't actually recall exactly offhand, but I don't remember it being more skewed towards men, thankfully, I think. Yeah, and I would say also, just as a general point, that it feels like in the past year there's been more focus on making sure that we at conferences get more women speakers, and in hiring, and it's not to say that one sex should be preferred over another, but at least that everyone is being considered.
So what's your comments on female working? Because especially in Australia, there's just a female, even they got very highly background, but when they have 1 kid, 2 and 3rd, they just intend just being a housewife. Also, the daycare is so expensive. So what's your suggestion for them?
Well, I mean, in my own situation, I've been very fortunate to be able to work primarily from home. So Curtin University and Power Ledger have been very accommodating around that, and with the combination of my mum living with us and also having a nanny, that's made it more viable to be able to be around my daughter, and to although I'm doing a lot of things, she's still around me during the day. But I just think it's very hard for women to, particularly if you haven't got your family close by, and also if you work unusual hours, which I do. So childcare hasn't always been feasible. Like for this morning, for example, I had to be 6:45 at an event because I was giving a breakfast talk. So and evening things. So I think that having a supportive husband is an essential element to be able to make that work. And
it's hard.
Definitely.
But is that daycare? That the fees is kind of City of Perth responsibility, or no?
Well, we actually have a City of Perth funded daycare facility, and it was set up quite a number of years ago when there wasn't much choice for daycare in the city. But since then, now there are a number of daycare facilities within the city, and so I think there's actually quite a lot of choice available for parents to look at childcare. And so if women are working in the city and say they're even breastfeeding, it's possible that they could come and nurse their children in the earlier years during the day. So I think that we'll start to see more of these kinds of facilities and services set up, and it will make it a lot easier for women longer term.
Because I just read the news on Channel 7, Australia will deduct the childcare fee because it's too expensive to encourage more female, to engage in work in the future.
Absolutely. So I think we need those kinds of support mechanisms in place if we really want to be able to make it possible for women to participate in the workforce whilst having children.
I'm looking forward to that. And back to our interview. As a graduate student, you choose to go to London, start your career in JP Morgan. But it's kind of somewhat strange for a people born in Perth, because many of them just travel into Bali, not very far to London. So why you choose London?
Well, my father's Irish and my mum is Italian, and I have an Irish passport, and so it meant that I was able to work and live in the European Union. And so that made it much easier to, find work in London. And I did a finance degree at Murdoch University. And so most of the jobs, in London, with someone with a commerce degree are in the financial services sector. So I kind of became, an accidental banker. And then halfway through my time in London, JP Morgan, who I was working with, was recognising the need for greater corporate and social responsibility. And they decided to set up an environmental risk unit to look at the bank's lending in developing countries. And I was chosen to help set up that team and worked there for 6 years and went on to do study in the area. So it kind of organically happened, if you like.
And just based on your life journey, when I look at, I think what you exactly want to do in every life stage. Go to study finance and go to JP Morgan, go to London, the world's, the International Economic Center, and then go to Cambridge for a master degree, and then came back, to have PhD degree to working in renewable energy field. So you know exactly what you want.
Well, I think that when I made those decisions, I knew exactly what I wanted, but I wouldn't say that like at 18 or 19, I knew that I wanted to be doing what I'm doing right now.
I see you still know.
Well, it was more that I knew what I wanted to do next and the next thing, and so it kind of happened more accidentally in terms of the overall choice that I made, like in terms of where I am right now. But I think for young people, they almost may feel like they need to be clear about what they're going to do for the rest of their life.
Many of them doesn't know.
No, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do longer term. So, but I think that if you just know what you want to do next, and then the next thing, and you make good quality decisions along the way, then you know you'll end up with hopefully something that you like.
Yeah, and your bachelor degree is finance, and your PhD is disruptive innovation.
Correct.
Which is kind of in renewable energy field.
Correct.
So I think it's completely different, you know. So why are you just making this, you know, change?
Well, technology disruption's been happening forever, you know, from horses and cart to car, from, you know, tape recorders to CDs. So the new technology disrupts old incumbent technologies, but in energy markets, the energy systems of the world have remained pretty much unchanged for a century, which is big power stations, transmission lines, distribution lines bringing electricity to people's homes and businesses. But in the past 10 years, with distributed renewables, solar and wind and battery storage, the energy system's been disrupted. And so my PhD was looking at what does that disruption mean and what kind of energy system will we end up with longer term, and how can we make sure that we deliver low cost and low carbon electricity. And it's important that it's both, because Australia's competitiveness really depends on it.
Yeah, I think because your last job in JP Morgan is about, you know, environment and renewable energy too, yes?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so I became quite interested in renewable energy there. And when I decided to return back to Australia, originally I was going to go to Sydney or Melbourne, where all the investment banks are, but I really felt like I missed home, Perth. And so that meant contemplating a different career for myself. And in between leaving London and coming back here, I did some hiking in Spain, and I became really interested in the idea of building an eco-village, and a friend persuaded me to do a PhD on that subject, and that was basically how it came to work, particularly on renewable energy attached to buildings, and then how Power Ledger, the company that I helped to co-found, was born.
Good. You just answered my question, because I want to ask you why you just back to Perth after 11 years. Maybe it's the weather in London.
Well, yeah,
it's
that
not
was
very good.
Certainly a factor, but yeah, I mean, I really missed my family and wanted to come home, and thought I'll just have to invent something else to do with my time.
Yeah, my brother lived in London for 11 years too, and I think the weather is just
it's not
crazy.
for everybody. I mean, we are very blessed in Perth with nearly 300 days of sunshine every year, and you know, this morning when I got up, you know, it's just amazing to be able to bring up your children in an environment where they can go outside and play for most of the year.
Yeah. Let's talk about your company, Power Ledger.
Sure.
So what made you fund this company? Maybe because you want to save energy to be green.
Well, it was really about, in Australia we have about 20% of households with rooftop solar, but hardly any in apartment buildings. And that's about 30% of the housing stock. And if an apartment building is sort of 5 stories or below, there's enough roof space to supply most of the electricity to the building. And in designing a solar and battery system for an apartment building, I was trying to find software that could allocate electricity to each apartment. And if you weren't home to consume that, you could trade it with your neighbours. And I couldn't find anything that did that. And then at the beginning of last year, I was introduced to a couple of blockchain developers, and they, I started looking into the blockchain and saw that it could do what I had wanted in the apartment building, and I introduced the blockchain developers to one of Power Ledger's other co-founders, and he saw an opportunity for peer-to-peer trading across networks facilitated by the blockchain. And so we formed the company in May of last year with those two deployments in mind.
Yeah, I think what you did is great, because Australia have a natural, you know, just climate which can use solar power and battery, which is so good. We got to use this, you know, the sunshine, you know,
Yes, absolutely. I think we are blessed with a lot of sunshine, and also because of the high electricity prices we have here, almost the highest in the developed world, the economics of alternative energy makes sense here sooner than it would elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so in many respects, Perth can become a ground zero for the energy systems of the future.
Yeah, and I'm quite interested about, what your company.
We get an electricity bill every 60 days right now. By using the blockchain, if I sold my surplus solar electricity to you, you could be paid instantly.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, even if we don't have a solar power, we still can to buy electricity from.
You can buy renewable electricity
Good.
from your neighbour.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
We have a neighbour have a solar power.
Well, exactly. So it means that anybody could get access to renewable energy, regardless of what roof space you have or whether you can afford the upfront costs.
Yeah. And do you know Elon Musk?
No, I don't know him personally, although I have. I did go to the launch of his big battery and was about a metre from him on stage.
Yeah.
But I'm very impressed with the work that he does, and I think he's a real visionary and futurist around energy.
Yeah.
And I have been in liaison with Tesla to see to explore opportunities for Powerledger and Tesla to perhaps work together in the future.
Do you think he'll make it in 100 days? Otherwise, we'll be free.
Well, he's already started to install a lot of the battery, and I would say they'll do it on time, yes.
So will you contacting him, to do the same in WA?
I think that Western Australia, could easily have the next biggest battery in the world. It would be amazing.
I think so too.
It's certainly something that I think a lot about, and I'm aspiring to do something around.
I think I noticed you post a photo with your daughter wear a shirt said "I love Alan." Is that Elon Musk or Elon DeGeneres?
Yes, Elon. Yeah,
Elon DeGeneres.
No, Elon Musk. Yeah,
Elon Musk.
Okay. Emily came to the launch with Elon Musk, and she wore that T-shirt.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. I wonder is Elon Musk or Ellen DeGeneres. I think no way to be Ellen DeGeneres, should be Elon Musk.
Elon, yes.
Oh yeah, Elon. Good. I think people say you are a go-to person, on matters of renewable energy and also city affairs. So what's your sort of these comments?
Well, I have some experience in that with my work at Curtin University.
Yeah.
And, I'm one amongst a range of views that are out there. And, right now, I think that the new council at the City of Perth is really interested in what we can do to activate the city, and we're all talking with each other around what's the strategy, and I'm very excited. I have only been on council for a short period of time, and I can't really comment about how it was before that for the longest part, but I certainly feel like everyone on council is excited about being able to contribute and make a difference.
Yeah. Speaking of this, you only being councillor for 2 years, and now you are deputy Lord Mayor and also acting Lord Mayor. So do you think it's very challenging for you? Do you think you got enough, this political experience?
Well, I don't know. I hope that the experience that I have gained to date will put me in good stead, and I've also been spending a lot of time being briefed on what's going on in the city, and it's certainly not a small undertaking, but I'm very excited about the opportunity, and I really hope to meet and exceed the expectations of the people of Perth.
Yeah, but for me it doesn't matter, because people looking forward some changes. Maybe they don't want someone to stay in politics for many years. They're looking for some changes. They're looking for people more engaging, more dedicate themselves into the career. Yeah, you are the person. The go-to person.
Hopefully, yeah. I hope to deliver something along with the council that's going to make Perth a more lively and livable city.
Yeah, and you said you will bring stability and leadership and also changes to the to the Perth city. So do you think it's kind of like in controversial? So how can you make the city stable and also have some changes?
Well, I think the comment that I made around that stability doesn't come from just doing nothing. It comes from forging agreement and consensus, and people from both sides of the political spectrum and people with different views. And I think that the work that we've been doing with council just in the past few weeks has shown that there is an ability for consensus to be gained, and people may have different views to start off with, but that if there's a recognition that we want to do something good for the city, that we can get there.
Yeah. So what do you thinking of free parking in city centre? This is what we care about.
Well, I think that parking is stifling business in some parts of Perth, and we are talking in council about what we can do to provide some relief to business and help stimulate the local economy.
Yeah. You know, there's only one Chinese councillor in the city of Perth, is Lily Chen.
Yes.
So what's your view of her?
I mean, I have a lot of respect for Lily. She really cares deeply about the city of Perth, and I'm very excited about what we might do together in. She's got a lot of ideas, things that I've not heard of before, but I think that have a lot of merit. So I hope to champion and advocate those with my fellow councillors.
Yeah. And speaking of, Chinese community, I think before you didn't engage in Chinese community a lot, but it's also a very large, community in Perth. So is there any reason why you didn't engage in before?
Well, I have been to some events at the Changhua Association, and and I am very interested in Chinese culture. I've been to China a number of times on business. Yes.
So where have you been?
I've been to Shanghai and Beijing and Luoyang. And
I'm from Beijing.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, I mean, I think China's really fabulous. It's got it's very progressive on technology, and so I think that, and we have a number of sister city relationships with China at the city of Perth. So I am very keen to strengthen and grow my relationship with the Chinese business community and residents here in the city of Perth.
What's your favorite thing about China? The food, the culture, the clothes?
The food, I think, is amazing. It's so different from Chinese food that I've experienced before, and it was just so delicious and tasty, and lots of fresh vegetables.
Yeah. What's your thoughts about China, because it recently is just very developing, and what do you think about it? Even Donald Trump just interviewed China yesterday, I think.
Well, the sheer size of the population of China, and the technological advancements and the growing middle class population of young millennials as well. I think that they're going to be very much shaping the future globally, and being having a seat at the top table and influencing what happens.
Yeah, I think Perth is a fun city with Nanjing and Chengdu.
Yes.
So do you think in the future you might just do something for this just cultural integration, or?
So at the moment I'm getting briefed on all of the sister city relationships and understanding what we're doing in terms of forging those further forward. But certainly they are very important relationships to the city, and I will be investing time in seeing what we can do to further cultivate them.
Yeah, because I think you mentioned you are more focused now in the economy in WA now, because it's not very good. But do you still also, pursuing for cooperation with, international, especially China, in the future?
Without question. I think that there'll be a lot of opportunity for Chinese people to come and work in Perth. So looking at, where are the sectors where there's synergies in talent that could be brought out, and that's something that I've already been working on in my time as a councillor, looking at the opportunities that we could further develop around that.
Yeah. So in the future, maybe I will see you more in Chinese community.
That would be lovely. Yeah, very much hope so.
Yeah, and also there's a 4 Chinese candidate. They want to be the councillor this year, but they failed. So do you have any suggestions or how to coach them to succeed in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the profiles of those candidates, and they seemed very high caliber. I think that it may be that the fact that there were 4 had an impact on them sharing the votes with each other, and so I don't really know why people voted the way that they did, but I felt like, I mean, we've had a long history of having people of Chinese origin on council, and I hope long may that continue. Yeah,
maybe this is the last question. So
sure.
I know you are a very successful businesswoman. So what made you motivated to, enter in politics in 2015 to become a councillor?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I was living in London, I bought an apartment in the city, and I was watching after that what was happening in terms of urban growth and regeneration. At the same time, I was living in East London, and a lot was happening there, and I saw the impact that had in terms of making London more attractive for businesses and for young people to live and work. And I really wanted to try and imbue some of that urban regeneration and activation in the city, and that was a big motivator for me for running.
Seems like a very big vision. So what's your dream when you were a little girl?
Well, I think that if we could have a more diverse economic base here, that was, that offered, a more diverse landscape of opportunities for young people, I think that would be really fabulous.
Yeah. Do you think you achieved all your dream, or is some still on the way?
Oh no, I mean that's one that's certainly work in progress, and there's a lot of work to do to make that happen.
Yeah. So tell me your imagination of 10 years, what the Perth will be.
Well, I think it would be great if we could have light rail in the city and more young people living here, and primary schools and housing, like apartments with 4 bedrooms for families, and that more head offices were choosing Perth as their pit stop, direct flights between London and Perth, which will be happening soon, from Asia, I think from Japan into Australia and perhaps South America, so we could create more linkages so that we can really optimise the opportunity to collaborate with our international partners.
Well, I'm looking forward for that.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, and it's a great pleasure to interview you, and I hope to see you more in the Chinese future, and all the best for your new positions as the Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you. 非说不可，非听不可。